Hello everyone and welcome to our special review. Our review is Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. It is my personal number one movie for 2024. I won't share my thoughts with you. I'm going to keep you in suspense. James, he will kick it off. What are your thoughts on Furiosa?
Oh, I don't know. You might not like my answer, man, but I gotta say,
I think I know your answer.
I was disappointed. But my answer is a little bit more nuanced than just I was disappointed. I was disappointed because I had huge expectations for this. You know, coming off Mad Max Fury Road, George Miller, he knows this world inside and out. He's really good at it. And to be fair, I was expecting something very similar to Mad Max. You know, the marketing kind of indicated that they are very similar and all that kind of stuff. But then, you know, we heard all the reactions and the reviews that they're completely different. So I wasn't expecting, you know, that really high octane, fast-paced Mad Max kind of style that we got. But, so yeah, my disappointment is in relation to my high expectations. But in saying that, the movie is great. Not as good as Fury Road, to be fair. So yeah, we'll get to the negatives because I have a lot more positives than negatives. The negatives and why it doesn't quite reach those heights, it is in the pacing. This movie is way too long. I think there's just moments where I don't really know whose movie it is. Is it Furiosa? Is it Dementus? It seems more focused on showing what happened around Furiosa than the movie actually being about Furiosa, which I found was a complete negative for the movie. The movie has very little characterization for Furiosa, and I think that's a negative. You know, we heard about Anya Taylor-Joy only having 30 lines of dialogue, right? I criticized it when we heard that news because I just thought 2.5 hours, 30 lines. It's even worse. And then we hear it's mostly narrative. It's not just all action paced. I'm like, how can you have, you know, the character who the movie is based on only have 30 lines when it's mostly just story? So you see that weakness coming to fruition with this movie because at times it feels like it's Dementus' movie, and just the world building's just it's a lot. It's really great for what it does. The world building, bringing that stuff in there. It's a perfect pairing to Mad Max Fury Road. I'll give it that. But in terms of being a story about Furiosa and her journey, we get very little of that. There's very little characterization. I just kind of saw what happened to her. I don't really understand her more as a character now. It didn't really do anything for that. Another problem I had was the villain. I thought the villain wasn't great. At risk of really hijacking this movie and kind of making it his own. But we have like so much moments with this character, and he says a lot. There are a lot of moments in this movie where I just kind of wanted him to stop talking because it got annoying. But we're made to believe, or they're trying to convince us that there's more to this character, that we should feel sympathy for this character, and he kind of has like a conflicted personality. But there's just no dive into that. It's just kind of laid out in, you know, one-liners here or there, and they never really fully explore into that. So I found that part to be quite disappointing. And I think Chris Hemsworth, you know, the reaction said that he was a standout. I thought he wasn't good at all. It feels like Chris Hemsworth. It feels like the most Chris Hemsworth performance. The guy he's great in some movies in terms of he just fits it with his charisma and all that, but it's just such a one-note performance. Puts on an accent and yaps like crazy. Like, there's no like nuance to his character. He doesn't really bring anything else. You can't really look deeper into the character. He doesn't really offer anything like that. So I found his performance quite disappointing. You know, we saw that in Love and Thunder. He'll figure out the character and he'll just run with that the entire time. He doesn't really change anything in it. So yeah, I found that quite disappointing. And like I was hoping for more of a Furiosa-centric movie. We're going to get into the positives because there's a lot, and I've rambled on too long about this, but everyone's going to come at me for being disappointed or saying all these negatives, so I wanted to articulate that correctly. Nayan, most anticipated for the year. What do you think?
I thought it was good. I thought it was great.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not number one most anticipated worthy,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still a fantastic film. I mean, I enjoyed their narrative and how they played out the entire Furiosa saga, I do agree with you. How Furiosa probably should have had a more center stage, considering her name is in the title.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you on that. But I think what they did, and in the story-wise of how and what they did, I think was completely justified. I think they did it fine. It showed Furiosa as like this up-and-coming, struggling sort of character, plucked from her usual home. It's not a spoiler because, I mentioned it in Fury Road in the trailers, so fuck off for all you guys that say it's a spoiler. Get that disclaimer out right here, right now. It explores that and her trauma and stuff, being raised, how she was raised. That's not a spoiler, so you guys can be safe in that regard. I do disagree with you in regards to Chris Hemsworth. In my opinion, I thought he was the standout. I thought it was fantastic, mainly because we're just so used to him seen in that Thor role. Just seeing him be himself, a Bergen Aussie.
Yeah,
it was just so good. I do agree with you in regards to how you said that sometimes he took the spotlight away, or some of his lines weren't justified to his character. I do agree with that, but at the end of the day, I thought he was probably the better part of this film, especially in that third act when he's like actually really just driving to like get his power and find his power and hurt whoever is in his way. Won't say any spoilers here, but I'm sure James knows exactly what scene I'm talking about. The Furiosa and partner scene. I thought he was great in that. Anya Taylor-Joy as well. She had, it was announced, 30 lines of dialogue, and within the first hour you could see exactly why, because in the first hour she didn't even show up. And then after that you get another half an hour and she barely even speaks. So yeah, but I think what she did with her role, I think a role is a lot more than speaking. I mean, just look at Tom Hardy as Bane, Yeah, he had a lot of speaking lines, but it's all that facial expressions and stuff which really captivated you. Same thing here with Anya Taylor-Joy in Furiosa, it was her facial expressions. She may have not been covered up with a mask, but you could still see her emotion and reactions to what's happening in front of her. She didn't have to react or speak like 20,000 lines as to what was happening to her in that scene, but you could still feel that impact. So I thought she was really great in that as well. So those are my thoughts on the story. What the big thing about Mad Max is visuals and its sound. What did you think about? We'll break it up. What did you think about those visuals?
Like visual effects wise, is that what you're talking about?
Visual, cinematography, etc., etc.
Okay.
Clump it into one.
It's there's not much to say in terms of visuals for me, because this is such a pairing to Mad Max. If you've seen Mad Max Fury Road, and I hope anyone who's listening or watching this has, I don't know why you would be watching it if you haven't seen that, but
if not, stop, watch Fury Road, and then come back.
Exactly, but yeah, it looks exactly the same. The the color palette that it uses, the visual effects. There are some shaky points of the visual effects, but Mad Max Fury Road had quite shaky visual effects at certain points as well. For the most part, it's it's good. But yeah, in terms of like the shot selection, and I think that's where the Mad Max, the recent Mad Max movies at least, get their uniqueness from, is the way George Miller likes to use the camera, his shot selection, and just overall like composition. But when it comes to filming action, George Miller loves to be very dynamic with the camera. It's always, moving, and it's capturing all these different kind of angles, so the viewer gets a really good idea and really good spatial awareness to what's happening in the scene. You're not really confused at how a car got here, or like someone like got onto that car. He just details everything out really, really well. It's choreographed and planned to perfection. So it's very similar to Fury Road. But yeah, this is the stuff that, the big screen is for. The big screen is for these types of movies, where these kind of directors, they make it feel like they deserve to be on the big screen. I couldn't watch this on the small screen, at least not in its action sequences. I'm sure you have a very similar opinion to that.
Yeah, for sure. I do agree with you. It's one for the big screen, not for the small screen. Agreed with you. Visuals is entirely similar to Fury Road. I mean, there was some awesome cinematic or cinematography type shots in that. But they used a lot of CGI, and in those CGI scenes, I think anyone that watches the movie, and yourself as well, would know exactly what I'm talking about. It just sort of takes away out of what's happening in that scene just because it's so blatantly CGI'd, whereas in Fury Road it was mainly practical, almost all practical, and it never took you away from that, and that was almost 2024, 2025, almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and Fury Road looks a better film. It just goes to show that industry nowadays are relying more on CGI than practical effects. That's a conversation for another day. We'll not get into that right now. But yeah, besides that, I thought the visuals were fantastic, you know. I mean, yeah, it was the same as Fury Road, but that's what you sort of expect, you know. You don't want it to be below Fury Road, and you don't want it to be so over the top that it doesn't look good, you know. I'd rather have it be on par with this film than rather try better this previous film.
Yeah.
And this is what this film did, besides those CGI films here and there. So I'm completely happy with what happened, especially at the start with the whole red mist thing with Chris Hemsworth's character. I think you might know what I mean about that. I thought that was a fantastic little sequence and shot in there as well. Any viewers that watch this, you'll know. Let us know in the comments below if you agree or not. And like and subscribe. Cheap plug there, but plug nonetheless. But yeah, I thought visuals were fine. What do you think about the score? Because Mad Max Fury Road had probably one of the best scores of the decade. How do you think it compared to this? Do you think it... I know it's a tough task to compare both scores, but would you consider Furiosa to be the best score of this decade, or one of the best?
No, not really. Like, the score is really good, but it resembles my overall larger issue with this movie. This movie, it feels far more, or it's trying to just be in service to Fury Road rather than its own thing. Like, think about everything that happened in Fury Road into this movie, you know, like, they're so closely tied together. And that goes for the score as well. Like, there were parts in this movie when the score was like going off, and I'm like, that sounds exactly like Fury Road. And I know that because I just watched it. Yeah, because I watched it like 2 days beforehand, and I'm like, okay, well, if this movie is, you know, structurally different, and just a fundamentally different movie to Mad Max Fury Road, then the score should be assisting the movie establish its own identity rather than trying to be like Mad Max Fury Road. It just so while it's great and it's kind of branching off what Fury Road already did, it's disappointing that it didn't do its own thing. I think Junkie XL is the one that composes this one. And yeah, we love Fury Road. I love this one as a matter of score, but I wish they kind of did something a little bit different to it. In terms of the other aspects of sound, you know, sound mixing, sound editing, beautiful, really great stuff. Establishes that, you know, wasteland soundscape that we love from Mad Max Fury Road. It's just, it works to make this world just so conceivable, to me at least. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I liked it. I liked how we used some of the scores from Fury Road into it, because Fury Road is just so iconic, and if this film was gonna be so closely tied to that film, it makes sense for it to use some of the score. I really like the sort of, not quite the big action scenes, but those action scenes where it was just no score, but it's just a beat, you know, the dum, 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 sort of sound, and it just like it's so subtle, but you could feel the tension in that, you know. It's just a simple like heartbeat type paced thing, and it goes with your own heartbeat when you watch it and what's happening on screen. I think that's the way it captivates you so much more, rather than just that bombastic sort of score you used to in Fury Road, where it just captivates you so much. I think the score in this was a little bit more subtle in terms of those little small beats. And I know it didn't happen just one big action scene. I know it happened at least 2, maybe 3 as well. And then it went into the main Fury Road score as well. I think it was Spiky Cars. I think that's the title for it. Don't
Yeah.
quote me on that. But yeah, I don't mind the score. I thought it fit well
Yeah.
with the film and the scenes that it played in.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of action, I know this isn't as action heavy as Fury Road, and that's probably where people are saying it's so different.
Yeah.
Did you mind the action in this? Like, did you enjoy the action in this?
I loved the action in this. I think whenever action is on screen is when the film's at its best. I don't know, mate. To me, Mad Max feels like a movie it should be like Fury Road. It feels perfectly suited to, that really intense kind of action that's it doesn't let you out of your seat kind of thing. I just don't feel like this world is designed for really slow world building kind of things. I appreciate some of those aspects when done correctly, at least in accordance to my taste and obviously other stuff. But yeah, when this action's playing out on screen, it's when it's at its best. I think George Miller's strengths lie in action, and I think for future movies, he should lean into his strengths a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree too. I mean, obviously that's why Fury Road is such a big hit, right? It's because the action sequences rather than narrative, but even then the narrative just told so much of his big story in Fury Road.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess he was trying to go back to the roots of Mad Max, as in the original films, but I think everyone's just so accustomed to Fury Road. Score, I think we've covered all the main aspects of it. I can't think of anything else unless you want to, or correct me if I'm wrong. Otherwise, just jump in straight into your score for this one.
I mean, nothing else to add. I mean, George Miller, he's 79 now, so to get something like this from a director at that age is just amazing. Yeah, like I obviously have issues with this. It's not as great as Fury Road if people are expecting that, at least not in my opinion. But it may just be your taste in kind of what Mad Max movies really should be. But there are some great scenes. I loved a lot of it. It's a really good cinematic experience. But I am going to go 7.6 out of 10 for this one.
Oh, really? I was going to go 8.8.
Oh my goodness. 8.8, wow.
Well, it's still a good film. It just, everyone compares it to Fury Road where they shouldn't. And it is a completely different film.
I think, but like I think you can compare it to Fury Road since it wants to be Fury Road. Like everything you saw in Fury Road is essentially in this movie, including the score.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no,
I think comparisons are valid, but yeah, I just wish we got a little bit more of Furiosa. I still don't really know her anymore as a character. But
That's
I loved
true.
Anya Taylor-Joy. I think they wasted Anya Taylor-Joy, despite the incredible acting she did with her eyes. I'll give her that.
For sure. All right, if you guys have seen it, let us know in the comments below. While you're down there, type in your thoughts, hit that like, hit that subscribe while you're at it, because you're already down there, so it makes sense. And you'll be doing us a huge favor. Those of you that have not seen it, head over to Instagram or X, give us your pre-thoughts on the film, watch it, come back, and let us know your full thoughts. James and I will have a discussion with you as well in regards to that film and your thoughts, whether you're wrong or right or you agree.
You're wrong.
Who knows? Well, it's we have different opinions here. James seems a bit more anti, and I seem a bit more positive. I think it's maybe because it was my number one, so I feel I have to defend it. But hey, it is what it is. While you're out there, if you don't like looking at us, head over to Spotify, wherever you pod from, type in Movie Gains, and you can give us a listen to not only any of our reviews, but also our podcast titled Let's Be Real. Cool. We'll catch you on the next one. We're about to do our Let's Be Real podcast, hosted by James. It's going to be a good one. Tune in for that. 100% it's going to be a good one. We'll catch you on the next one. We're Movie Gains, obviously. We'll see you later.
Peace.